If you happen to walk past a cart where Jehovah's Witnesses are displaying their literature, ask them whether members of their organization can leave freely and without repercussions. Spoiler, they'll tell you that of course they can, that they're completely free to stay or to leave. But is that actually true? The reality is that being inside Jehovah's Witnesses is like being in a cell with glass walls. Of course you can get out. Yes, but not without serious cuts. To give you an idea of what we're talking about, we can mention a term that has become common among people who, in one way or another, have been connected to Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm referring to the acronym PIMO. If you're a regular follower of this channel, you probably already know that PIMO stands for physically in, mentally out. That's right, people who no longer want to be Jehovah's Witnesses, but for some reason are still inside. If leaving the Jehovah's Witness organization were as easy as they claim, PIMOs wouldn't exist. They are living proof that leaving Jehovah's Witnesses does, in fact, come with repercussions. We'll explain this more clearly in a moment. In reality, leaving Jehovah's Witnesses is not a theological process, but a social and psychological grieving process. Stay until the end, because in this video we're going to break down 4 invisible chains that make leaving the Jehovah's Witness organization one of the most painful decisions a human being can make. Chain 1. Instill fear. Every Jehovah's Witness has been trained to believe that you can only trust the brothers and sisters of your own religion. People who are not witnesses, whom they call worldly, are considered bad for the most part, and even if they seem good, because they lack what they call fear of Jehovah, they could harm you at any moment. All of this is reinforced by the propaganda spread through publications, videos, and speeches. In them, experiences are told, most of the time invented, about people who left the organization, lost their sense of purpose in life, and ended up depressed, without family, using drugs, or even losing their lives. As life begins to show you that even your own Jehovah's Witness brothers can hurt you, and sometimes seriously, as in the thousands of cases of abuse against small persons that have occurred, many witnesses choose to think, if this is how the brothers are, just imagine what the worldly people must be like. And so they remain trapped in self-deception. The truth is, both outside and inside Jehovah's Witnesses, there are good people, and very bad people. On the other hand, every witness is conditioned to believe that when God destroys the wicked world at Armageddon, only Jehovah's Witnesses will be saved. This leads to something very curious and contradictory. Even though witnesses criticize other religions for keeping their flocks under control through fear of a fiery hell, they do the exact same thing. The only difference is that in their case, it isn't called hell, it's called Armageddon. Now put both links together and they become a powerful chain. The witness ends up reasoning, if I leave the organization, I'll become miserable, and when Armageddon comes, I'll be destroyed. Leaving makes no sense. Chain 2. The family and social cost. Without a doubt, this is the most powerful weapon the leaders of Jehovah's Witnesses use to keep people in their ranks. Jehovah's Witnesses have the practice of stopping social interaction with those who leave their organization. This means they might call you to invite you back to the meetings. But the coffee outings and social gatherings with people who used to be your friends are over. The weekends spent watching soccer or movies with family are over too. The long phone calls just to talk are over as well. But the worst of the worst comes if, after leaving Jehovah's Witnesses, you decide to join another religion or expose their bad practices. By the way, someone once commented that if you join another religion, you're not an apostate. That according to them, you only become an apostate if you speak badly about the organization. Well, if you're a Jehovah's Witness watching this video, read the definition of apostate or apostasy in the book Insight on the Scriptures. But getting back to the point, if you become what they call an apostate, don't expect them to call you, not even to invite you back to the meetings. And if they see you on the street, they'll act as if they don't know you. You become worse than trash to them. By the way, at least one Jehovah's Witness has already called me exactly that in the comments. All of this is made even worse by another factor. Jehovah's Witnesses only form friendships with other Jehovah's Witnesses. So the day they decide to leave, they are left without their social circle. And you don't need a degree in psychology to understand how painful it is to lose, from one day to the next, your entire social and family support network. Chain 3. The painful mental restructuring. The organization teaches that the governing body is the channel God uses to transmit truth and spiritually feed his people. No one questions what the governing body says, and anyone who has doubts about a doctrine or practice taught by that group of men keeps those questions to themselves, because if they express them, they risk being labeled spiritually weak, and they'll see their brothers begin to distance themselves and exclude them from activities they were once invited to. Anyone who has spent 10, 20, 30, or 40 years inside the organization has had their critical thinking turned off for that same length of time. Their entire life is dictated by the organization: how to dress, how to speak, who to associate with, what to study, what kind of job to choose, what kind of partner to choose. Everything, absolutely everything, is pre-regulated by the governing body. The thing is, critical thinking, like many habits in life, is similar to a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes, and conversely, the less you use it, the weaker it gets. I'll illustrate it with what happens to astronauts who spend months in space. By living all that time in zero gravity, they stop using their muscles to stay upright, and those muscles waste away to the point that, when they return to Earth, it takes weeks before they can walk normally on their own again. I hope this helps illustrate the enormous challenge faced by someone who has spent many years inside the organization when it comes to using their critical thinking again to question the beliefs and practices taught by the governing body. Chain 4. Overcoming the grief. For a Jehovah's Witness, their religion is an essential part of their identity. That's why leaving it is so difficult. It means stopping being who they are in order to become someone new. And believe me, that is anything but easy. Those of us who have done it have to go through all the stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and finally, only after a long period of work, the final stage: acceptance. To wrap up, I want to say the following. If you're one of those people who like to comment that Jehovah's Witnesses are stupid, please refrain. Refrain because psychology has shown that anyone can fall into a cult. It's not a matter of intelligence. And there are many types of cults, not just religious ones. There are self-help cults, financial ones, coaching cults, corporate ones, political ones. You might even be in one without realizing it. I also want to say that if you're still inside the organization in order not to lose your family, your decision is completely respectable and humanly understandable. And finally, I want to acknowledge all those who have been able to make the decision to leave the Jehovah's Witness organization. It has surely been a long and painful process. Congratulations on your courage and perseverance. You may not be living in a perfect world now, but it's certainly better than where you were before. Without a doubt, it has been worth it. If you like the content, subscribe. And if you want to know whether Christmas is or isn't a pagan celebration as Jehovah's Witnesses claim, click on the next video. See you next time.